64% of you watching this podcast have still not subscribed. Manje bathi graph yami yenza kanje. Can I please just ask you to click on that small button and subscribe? Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Money with Wendy Silebi. It's Women's Month, and this month we're just celebrating phenomenal women who are doing amazing work, and we also talk about money. This morning we are talking to Dr. Sibongile Vilakazi. I'm just going to introduce her and read her bio. Dr. Sibongile Vilakazi is a research psychologist with a PhD in organizational development and diversity management. She completed her PhD at Wits Business School in 2015 and joined the Wits Business School as a faculty member in 2017, teaching business strategy on the PDBA and MBA program and supervising MBA and PhD research students. She has rich corporate experience in customer strategy design and implementation, having headed customer experience for Alexander Forbes Group, account director at Kantar, and worked for Nedbank Group Insights and Nedbank retail segments. And that's where I met Dr. Vilakazi for the second time. Dr. Vilakazi is the founder of Ntsikelelo Business Solutions, a consulting business. She consults for small, medium, and corporate organizations on business transformation strategy, customer experience strategy, strategy implementation, and monitoring. She's the chairman of the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, GGDA, board and independent non-executive director of the South African Music Rights Association, SAMRO, where she is the chairperson of the Social, Ethics and Governance Committee. She also serves on the board of Kalahadi Manganese Mining Company as an independent non-executive director and a member of Ntsikelelo Foundation Board. Dr. Vilakazi was nominated in the 2020 Standard Bank Top Women Award, a finalist in the top 10 in science category. Yo! What a bio. Please help me welcome Dr. Vilakazi. Welcome, Bun.
Thank you so much, Mawenza, Wendy.
Well, after reading that bio, I think we just need to breathe a little bit and maybe just go back and talk about where you come from, your background, where were you born, maybe touch a little bit, as much as you'd like to, on your childhood, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, forgive me, I have a little bit of flu, so I don't sound like I sound normally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm from Piet. It's a small town between KZN and Swaziland.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew up there, nothing really happened in Piet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think many people even know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe now some people will know it because of Abu AKA,
Mm-hmm.
Abu Piet and
Mm-hmm.
the from Piet.
Okay.
Yeah, AKA was literally my neighbor.
Really? Hey, music.
You know, but yeah. But at the time, nothing happened there.
Mm-hmm.
Now things do happen. Thank God for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the dream when I grew up in Piet was to leave Piet because nothing happened. People. The most you could be, I guess, would have been a teacher, a nurse, all those typical government roles. Other than that, really not much. So the dream was always to leave because also the social ills, alcohol challenges. And for some of us, I always felt like I didn't belong. I wanted something bigger and I wanted to be somebody for some reason. And I couldn't explain then. Who is somebody? What does it mean to be somebody? But I just wanted to be someone. So yeah, and I did achieve that. I left, which was that dream. Hopefully now we can go back and empower young people, at least in those environments, to know that it's possible to do big things even when you come from small towns.
Okay. Well, Retief, I thought if you're on your way to Swaziland, Maupuming in Pumalang,
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went to school in Swaziland. And
Oh,
I
is it?
remember, good, yeah, somewhere, somehow, we used to pass Retief. So, when you say KZN, you know?
And
Yeah.
Swaziland.
Okay. And then when you left Retief, did you come here straight to Joburg?
No, I left Piet, went to Secunda. So how I left Piet was my brother found me a school, multiracial school. Again, that was another dream of mine. I remember Mandela came just before the elections in 1994. The ANC was campaigning and they were coming to all sorts of corners of the country. And they managed to come to Piet, Mandela and the crew, and they were campaigning. And one of the things that he said in that campaign was that South Africa will be different. Black people will go to white schools, and and I hung on to that for dear life. That idea that I could go to a white school, because at the time it was just it was an impossible thing to happen. So yeah, and I hung on to that, and it did happen. I left Piet to go to a white school because my brother found me a school in Secunda. He was working there at Sasol, living in Secunda. And he brought me along to come and stay with him. And yeah.
Okay. No, I just love the way that your brother empowered you, moved you out of Piet into Secunda, and now you are here doing the work that you're doing. And I think when you started, you said you also want to go back a Piet to go and empower the young people that are there, because that's what it's all about, right? Yeah. So maybe looking back at your life, have you always aspired to be where you are right now? Jehovah's have you always aspired to be that, to be what you
I
are?
wouldn't say exactly as is, because with dreams, you have a bigger picture, and then the details, they come in as life progresses.
Yeah.
So it's important to have that bigger picture. That where do you see yourself? And for me, I was very clear. I remember I would even say, I want to own a 2 million rent house. And at the time, 2 million was a big thing. Now it's like, well,
Yeah.
but that was the fuel that energy needed to create the dreams that I needed. I knew I wanted a big life. I wanted to be someone. I wanted to be influential. How that would happen, I didn't know. How it would happen, and the dots just kept on filling as life changed. For instance, when I got to a white school, I was one of the few. For instance, in class, I think we were 3, if not 5. Maximum, if we were the most, we would have been 5 in class. The trauma of feeling like an outsider. You walk into a space that is completely not designed for you. You speak a language that is completely foreign to you. That trauma it planted a seed that a seed that carried on, but I wouldn't have imagined it that way. Because I started having this awareness about being an outsider, and how for instance, I left Piet. I was one of the best students, actually, if not the best student. One of the reasons my brother decided that I needed a challenge, I needed to leave that space. It was too small for me, because I was just doing so well at school. And then I get there, and I'm almost failing. Every time I have to pray that I don't fail. Sure. Which was a foreign thing for me. It really shook my identity, in the sense of who I am, where am I going, and all of those things that I thought I knew. But then it started planting a kind of person in me, a kind of person who's very protective of people who seem like outsiders, and who's passionate about wanting to bring everybody in and wanting to enable people to succeed in their own way, that you don't have to be included in some kind of a space, in some kind of a way of doing things. You really can succeed doing you, the things that you were born to do, and you can succeed only if you create environments that enable for that. So what I do now, I think the seed was planted then.
And I think from what you're just saying, you already had a vision, because vision is a picture of a preferred future, right? You see it in your mind,
Mm.
and then it becomes so vivid.
Mm.
And then it's really what it does, it then gives you a purpose. So as you go through your life, you are literally chasing that vision. And of course, you come from my church where they teach a lot about vision. And I'm sure as you were there as well, you know, that also grew and you went for your dreams. So maybe my next question would be, who is the woman or women maybe in your life that have inspired you to never give up?
I think the first one would be my mom.
Yeah.
Like I watched my mom do things that are typically associated with a man. For instance, like he would have people or men building for her, and she would be standing there instructing them, telling them what to do. And these men, they come and they say, "No, I know how to build. I know how it's done." And she was like, "No, it won't work out. If you continue like this, it won't get to where it needs to go." And the resistance and calmly, and she would get them to do what she wants them to do. I really used to admire that about her. I would watch her in church, for instance, when we have big events, and she'll be the one, like, you can see if this woman is not there, things will collapse. You know, trying to get everybody to do what they are supposed to be doing, but doing it in a way that made people love it. You know, she wouldn't instruct and command, but she would praise and make someone feel proud that, you know, hey, if ungekho lana, angeke sikhone phela sisi, come assist us on this and this, you know, do this and that. And people would love it. Like they would happily do the work that needs to be done. I watched that and I used to admire it, not realizing that this is what leadership is. And only when I'm in leadership roles, then I realize, oh, what would my mom do? So every time I ask myself, what would my mom do? I mean, even with money, my mom was the best person in terms of managing money. Like, she's really like the best person I know. I mean, she was a domestic worker that managed to raise 6 children alone. Her husband had passed on. And we never lacked. We didn't have everything, but the things that we needed, we had them. And you wouldn't understand, how does she manage to do that? You know, even in church, she was, for as long as I could remember, she was tasked with managing finances. Yeah, for the church, for as long as I can remember. And people, sometimes they will, you know, with politics are everywhere, they would say, no, we need to change it, give it to someone else. And they would give it to someone else, and suddenly there's shortages here and there. And they're like, no, take it back to Mam Vilakazi. Mam Vilakazi knows how to do this thing. And for as long as I know, my mom was managing finance, and not once was a single cent missing. She just knew how to manage finances. And I'm glad that when I found myself in trouble financially, again, I would ask myself, what would my mom do? And when I understood how money works, I realized, oh my God, this is what my mom was always doing with little money, but she was just managing it because that's the skill. Yeah. You know?
Okay, we'll go back to that one, Yemali, but I think I just want to also say, I mean, I've met your late mom, she's now late, and how I wish she was here to witness some of the things that you are doing now, the success that you have. But the big thing is that she was there at your graduation when you got your PhD events. I was also fortunate. I made the list. I was there. I witnessed it. So the PhD, I see in Bombay, she really got it at Wits, and I was a witness to it. And I must say, Bongi, you know, when I saw you, because I used to work Nobongi in Nedbank, and we did some awesome things together. And while you were working, you were also studying, doing this PhD. You were about move, supervisor, this. And I was watching and I'm thinking, Aibo, if she's working and she can do it, so can I. And that's when I started studying what I'm studying now. Well, like PhD, but I was studying, and I was like, if Bongi can do it, then I can do it. So you've really inspired and motivated me to do better. to study. I'm 61, I'm still studying. It keeps me motivated, and I am able to learn new things. So, maybe I'm about doctor.
Of course.
About 70, like,
of course.
And of
if
course,
you can think
that
it and dream it.
Exactly, you'll be there. So, you are big on transformation. And when we started, you spoke a little bit about how you want to go back, Ekaya, to go and change the situation. Maybe just share a little bit about why transformation is so critical to you and probably for women as well.
No, I think for me, the big thing, I love Black people. I don't know, it's something that God has placed in my heart. The full fruition of the purpose will come in due time. I don't know right now, but what I know is that I just have this desire that Black people must take their rightful place, be the leaders that they were always meant to be. That seed was planted when I found myself in an environment where, I come in, I'm brilliant, I know I'm brilliant, but because now the conditions and the environment is designed in such a way that I can't be the best that I can be, that I started feeling like that, but this is wrong. And then I get to University of Pretoria, experiencing racism for the first time at Dakis, and starting to realize what this country, what we've been going through and what it all means when you go through it yourself. And then being in class, watching other students, because now I had come from a white school, so I was at an advantage when I got to Dakis. Now I'm used to white people, and yet they still treat me like I'm not sure how. And then in class, watching other Black students who come from environments that I would have came from before I went to Secunda, Hyper Park High School, struggling to express themselves in class, getting low marks. That thing, it just grew. But this has to stop. This is wrong. And then I found myself working at the department. And then there were few, again, lecturers, Black lecturers. And I would attend meetings with them in those meetings. And the entire meeting would go by and they wouldn't have spoken a word. That's exclusion. You are in there, but you're not there. And I felt this is wrong. I didn't like it at all. And then I get elected into a House committee because of affirmative action, because they had to have a 3 Black people in Turkey. Now I'm there. I've got brilliant ideas, but because they speak Afrikaans, and no one gets to see my ideas and think that the ideas, because you are a minority, there was only 3 of us. You say one thing and people just continue with their lives, and then someone else says the same thing. And then suddenly it's the best idea ever, and you're like, but that's exactly what I said. So those kind of things, they really molded the person that I guess I am today. Very clear about the transformation that needs to happen, and wanting to contribute in ensuring that we build a South Africa that will reflect at least the majority of the population. It cannot be that in 2023 we have so many Black people who find themselves that they don't belong in this country, simply because the systems are not designed to make them believe that they matter. And who they are and how they behave is what it is, and they need to be feel that they are part of the country. They don't have to model a certain behavior, be a certain way, which most of the time means removing who you are. The more you remove who you are, the more acceptable to this world that we find ourselves in this country. It's this country and globally, but right now we are here in this country. I think it's wrong, and someone has to do something about it.
Okay, I like that. And just the other day, you were giving a talk at a event I had invited you to. One of the things that you said is that you were very clear about how you want to differentiate yourself. You were very clear that you want to be a leader in the transformation space, and even coupled with your brilliance. You've said that, Ganing, in our Tokutu, you are brilliant. And I can attest to that, because when we worked together, hey, we used to come up with great ideas, like ideas I've not thought about. And I think, hey, Yimlo, you were stretching me to think beyond, And when I look at how you are doing things right now at the Black Management Forum, I see some of the brilliant ideas that you had come up with, and now you are able to implement them, because ezinye zethu zaphelela on paper, they didn't go very far, and now you have such a perfect opportunity, and I see you doing it every day. And that brings me to the last point around the things that you do before sikhuluma money. BMF. I mean, you are the second woman president of the BMF after 17 years, because the first one was the great Nolita Fakude. And then to come into this presidency, you have to go through elections and all of that. So maybe just take us through a little bit about that and what you hope to achieve for the BMF, because abantu abaningi, they probably don't know about the BMF, and I see the way now you're out there doing all kinds of things. Now I'm saying aware, man. Hey, BMF ivukile, man. So maybe just tell us a little bit about your ascension to BMF, and also to Kalepi, because you just didn't wake up and in the morning you were the president.
Yes. No. I came into BMF because I was invited by Ulanga, that is Langa Mangele. He was a chairperson of the province, Gauteng province at the time. Like many people, I had just joined BMF and become a member, but don't participate. Many people are like that. They just join because they hear about it and they feel that it stands for something that they stand for, and they want to be part of it. And you just pay your annual fees and you attend some event. Yeah, every now and then you attend this and that. I was one of those as well, until I was invited by Langa into his PEC, Provincial Executive Committee. So they come in and assist with policy and research work. So that's how I came in and started working in the BMF. We did great things in Langa, partnered significant research organizations, did some nice research projects for the organization, and that's how I was in. And then, because I was a member in Sentin branch, then the elections were coming up, I decided to stand for the elections. In a room full of men, I was the only woman in that room, and men decided to vote for me to be the chair of Sentin. That's how my journey in the BMF then started. So I was a chairperson. It's a majority male organization. It's dominated by men. And I guess that's why it's taken so long after Sisnolita to have a female president. Because basically men have to see you as their leader and they vote for you. So I something in me, I guess, that the men in the BMF have related with. And that's why then they've decided that, because even going into the provincial chair, becoming the chairperson of the province, also had to go through elections and compete with the men, and I won. And then the big one, becoming the president of the organization. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, so it was a battle. It was a battle, but what gave me peace was that in the prior years, because it was long coming, because we've been talking that we need a woman president, and because it was difficult, we even had to put in the MOI that if a man is the president is male, the deputy has to be female. And the vice, but not vice versa. So if the president is female, then the deputy can also be female. So that we had to force transformation to happen. Resolutions upon resolutions every year will come out to say next year we need a woman president, but it wouldn't happen. So I guess by the time I came, the ground was already fertile. So, and then I come in and the men were clear that we cannot continue as an organization ignoring this cry, because it has been a cry for a while. And also because of the negative publicity that we had just come out of as an organization, I think it made perfect sense for everyone that the time has come. No one can ignore this anymore. So when I raised my hand, it was a battle. It was very difficult, I must be honest. But in the end, the people, the members of the organization found it in their hearts, who are mostly men, to say that the time has come for a woman and she is the one that must take us to the next level.
And she is Dr. Vilakazi.
Yes.
And I think what I've loved about the work that you have done in the short space of time that you have been the president, you are all over. Mengvula social media, ula. And I think you're just taking BMF to the people, and you are demystifying into what BMF is maybe for the elitists, but you're also bringing it down to some of us and the young people that are watching us, that are professionals. I think they must join BMF and go and contribute positively there.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyways, Kulmengo Mama and how prudent she was around money. So let's talk about you and your relationship with money. When did you begin paying attention to prudently managing imali? If you did indeed, manage it prudently. So you probably have a money story that you can share with us.
Yeah. Actually, that's what brought us together. Money. Me and you. Money management. Like most professionals, you start out, banks, they love you. You've got a nice salary. They give you all the credit that you don't need. But you are excited. You just go and take and take and take. You find yourself, like many of us, I think, I found myself in trouble. Because now I was living in debt, basically. I was using a credit card to pay this credit card, to pay that. And at some point,
you were robbing Piet
because you live this lifestyle that is not yours. Every Friday, you are at some restaurant, eating this, drinking that on weekends. And all of this comes from credit, it comes from debt. And you start believing it's your money when it's not your money. So I found myself in that space. And I was in trouble, literally. I had rented out my flat, thinking, because they teach you all sorts of things that you must buy. First thing you must do, buy a house, buy property, as a young person. And most of these things they teach us are not true. Actually, they're not right. So I bought property early, and in an area that I thought was a good area. Yeah, and they tell you never go wrong with property. It's a good investment. So I did that as well. Then the area is, I don't know, it started deteriorating for some reason. But before then, I decided to rent another place, go to a bigger place and rent out my flat and then make money out of that. Troubles. I would get people who would default. And then when they default, it means I must be the one carrying the cost. So before I knew it, I was in serious debt and serious trouble. So something had to give. And it took accepting that the lifestyle that I'm living is not mine. And I need to downgrade. It's difficult. It was really humbling. And I had to look for ways to downgrade. And the nice thing about the universe, when you are ready to hear, the answers come and people come. You were one of the people who came. Ebo.
Ebo,
friend of mine. Hey, Ebo
he's
is
coming. He's going to come.
Ebo,
in the next episode.
No. He really was God sent, because he came at the right time when I needed to know different ways of managing my finances, not the ones that banks would have told. Because banks, they just sell you credit most of the time. They don't teach you how to manage money properly. So he took me to a few conferences. When we went together.
Who's that guy?
I can't even remember that.
No, man.
Robert
Kiyosaki.
All of them. And I mean, in those conferences, that's when I learned a million what mind, something like that. That conference. That's when I realized that my mom, everything that she was doing was how money is managed.
Yeah.
You know, that when they taught me that principle of you must take 10% or whatever, but how do you allocate your finances? 50% on your day-to-day, 10% give it away, 10% on your own development, you know.
Yeah, and
savings.
then the other 10 on your passive income.
Yes.
Hey, able.
Hey. So that was just life-changing. And for me, what was even more life-changing was realize this is what my mom was doing. With 10 rands, that's how, if you manage it, separate it like that, and you'll grow, and you'll be able to manage your money well. It's a principle.
Yeah.
And growing up, we thought, take it to church, because we took it to church, the tithing. My mom always, and without fail. And you think it's just tithing, it's just, but meanwhile, it's a principle of life.
It's a principle of reciprocation, right?
That you have to have money that you send out to the universe, so that it goes and collects others on your behalf, and it comes back to you. It's a principle. It's not just about tithing. So for me, that was life-changing, and it really, from then on, I became a better person in how I manage my money. I use those principles to this day. I pay myself first before, when I get money, whatever money that I get, I decide what percentage must come to me, how much work did I take to get that money, and I'm worthy of being paid, so I pay myself first. It's a principle. I give money out.
It's a principle of self-love.
Yes.
You know, when you've worked hard and the money comes in, and you reward yourself.
Yeah.
You are literally loving yourself. Your money going to somebody else, because they say also that the first person that gets your money, that's your God. Food. You know, you serve that person. So when you love yourself, and the first amount you pay yourself, it means you love yourself.
Yeah, and you give yourself that energy to continue. Yes. And I made sure I give money, and people would think you are just someone who come and say, borrow me, whatever. And then you just give it, and you don't expect it back. And so when people, they ask. So when someone will borrow, and they're thinking they are borrowing. For me, I use it as an opportunity to give it. Yeah, because here's someone who needs it. So I would just give it and not expect it back. So, and those are the principles really that have changed my life. And I think that if you follow them, they do work, and it's good karma. Giving money away is it's creating good karma for yourself. But also, you must always have money put aside for emergencies. You must never find yourself now suddenly there's a crisis and you have to run around. Usually that's what gets people more into trouble, because when the crisis will come, so you have to be ready for that. So those principles of allocating your money properly, they work.
Right. And I mean, sure, you shared with us, your money mistakes, because Ghanaian people, see a lot of people that look good, and they think that you've got it together. And I mean, I always share with people, Gutinami, on my journey, even though I was working for a financial institution, I made so many money mistakes. But what is critical and what is important is that you learn from those money mistakes, and then you start implementing strategies of correcting where you went wrong, And if there's a 20-year-old watching now, and maybe even looking at yourself as your 20-year-old self, what would you say to a 20-year-old that's starting out, and maybe to Boni when you were 20? What would you have said to yourself now that you've gone through everything that you've gone through?
I think it's okay to fail, and try and fail, because you can't preempt and avoid many things. Yes, people will give you advices. Some of it, the advice looks legitimate. Like in my case, I was told buy property. I bought property, and it burnt me. I had to sell that property at a loss. So, and I learned later that actually, be careful. Property is not necessarily owning property is not necessarily the best investment. Is an asset.
If you buy a property, it appreciates in value.
No, not really. Yeah, and also understanding what is an asset. So it was important for me to also learn that. What is an asset? Anything that takes money away from you,
it's a liability.
Exactly.
Even if it's a property that you've bought thinking you're going to make money out of it.
Yeah. So we have to learn those principles and those terminologies. Don't take it at first value. But also just be young and learn, and you learn as you go. Open your mind. Don't be too excited. But when you fall, it's okay. Just get up quickly and learn and humble yourself. Because for me, I think what enabled me to turn around was humbling myself. Because it's humbling to realize that I have to downgrade. I have to sell this property, and I have to get a property that is cost lesser. Because it free me. Otherwise, most people, they just want to continue living the lifestyle because abantu bazothini, get rid of that. No, actually, people don't care. Shem, you're on your own. So when you realize that you've stumbled somewhere, humble yourself and go back and start again, and you'll be okay.
Awesome. And I think what I just want to put out there is that we are going to have a series where we're just going to talk about property, how to buy a property, how to make money out of property, how not to get banned about that. So we'll bring in the experts and we'll really go deeper into that. And this gentleman called Ebo Kwagrin that we're talking about will be one of our guests. So maybe as we bring our conversation to a close, what is your message to women, as we celebrate Women's Month? Because when you look at research, it talks about how women are the ones who are, you give a woman you give a woman a house, she turns it into a home. You give her money, she turns it into a meal, And the research shows that women will live longer by about 20 years or so, more than the average man when you reach 60. And Ganenge, also you find that because of that, women will also be abokoko, they look after the young ones. When life the way it is now, the young people pass away before their parents, and then with the grandchildren and so on. So what is the message that you would like to give to mothers, to women that are just watching the podcast in this month, that is really maybe a seed that you want to plant where money is concerned and anything else?
I think women, we need to not be resentful of the role that God created us to play. It often feels unfair that we are the ones that are left with the burden, societal burden, raising children, as you've said, raising everybody, men who think they are men, but you are still raising them as big as they are. And sometimes it does feel like, but really, do I have to go through this? And I think the need for what seems most of the time like we are on opposing ends with men. We demand equality. The language we even use, like demand, forceful, and all of that, because it comes from a feeling that, but this is unfair. Like, why do we have to be carrying so much as women? I really think that it's unfair, but it's a blessing that God just decided that we are the ones that must carry. And as when we take it serious and we don't feel resentful about it, we have a potential, and we do. Not even just a potential, it's a fact. We change the world. We carry the world. We carry everything as women. So let's not be resentful about it. Let's just get out there and do it. Right now, we find ourselves with a country that almost everything is not working as we think it should work. And I think it will take women to say, enough is enough. The same way with the 1976 women, not 1956 women, who said enough is enough, and things changed. So women, we play that role. We have that power. In our families, in our homes, everywhere. When women say, you will not come after 6 in this house, and it ends there. So let's take that serious as women and act on it and really change our country and drive it to where it's supposed to be. Let's not let men make us feel that this is so unfair. When I wenzani, mina busy ngenzani, when I wenzani. Now, let's just do it. Let's get it done.
Let's just do it. And then this is just the last segment where I always ask my guests to give a seed of wisdom, which is a nugget about money. Something that was when they are sitting somewhere and then they think, "Ude, udokotela wathi." This is just the seed as we come to a close.
I guess what I would say is that your money is your money, and please take care of it and use it in a way that will enable you to move to the next level. Don't use money to show others that you have made it when you know you're sitting by yourself there struggling to make the payment of that big car that you have bought now, wanting to show everybody else that you are doing well. So use money to take you to the next level.
Use money to take you to the next level. Your money is your money. Siyabonga. Thank you so much, Bungi, for this conversation. So I'm excited, really, and I just want to wish all the women happy Women's Month. We are the ones that God has really created to be change makers. Let's go out there, let's manage our finances, let's run our homes well, our businesses, where God has placed us. Let's just be that light that can never be dimmed. Thank you so much, Bo.
Thank you so much, Winter, for inviting me. Yeah. You're doing very well.